Welcome to Podcast Learn and Fun. Let's start today's journey of learning. We're diving into the fascinating world of DNA. We all know it's the blueprint of life. But have you ever thought about what actually keeps this incredibly long molecule together?
Well, it's not just one thing. It's this amazing interplay of forces. You've got these tiny hydrogen bonds between the base pairs.
Right.
Individually, they're pretty weak, but when you add them all up, especially across a massive molecule like DNA, they create some serious holding power.
I kind of think of it like those building challenges, where you're trying to make the tallest structure out of like toothpicks and marshmallows or something.
Yeah,
Individually, they're not that strong, but together, they can really kind of defy gravity.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy. And the number of these bonds actually varies between the different base pairs.
Okay.
So guanine and cytosine have 3 hydrogen bonds, while adenine and thymine only have 2.
Interesting.
So that means a sequence that's rich in GC pairings is going to require more energy to pull apart.
Oh, so it's like those GC pairs are the heavy-duty glue holding sections of DNA together.
Yeah.
Huh. That makes me wonder if this difference in bonding strength plays a role in how genes are expressed or even how DNA replicates.
That's a really insightful question. It definitely has implications for how DNA interacts with other molecules and how accessible certain regions are for processes like transcription. But there's another factor that plays a crucial role in DNA stability. Its iconic helical shape.
See, I always thought that twist was just for looks, just
Yeah.
to make it look cool under a microscope.
Oh, it definitely adds to the visual appeal. But that twist serves a vital purpose.
Okay.
It actually helps to balance out the strain created by all those hydrogen bonds. Think about what happens when you twist a rubber band too much.
Uh-huh.
It gets tighter and tighter, building up tension.
Right, and if you keep twisting, eventually it'll snap.
Exactly. DNA is kind of like that rubber band. It has this inherent tension called torsional strain, which results from the interplay between the twisting force and the resistance from those hydrogen bonds.
So if DNA was just a straight ladder, all those hydrogen bonds would make it super stiff and rigid,
Right.
but the twist allows it to be more flexible and dynamic.
You got it. And that flexibility is essential for all sorts of processes, like how DNA is packaged within the cell and how it interacts with other molecules to make proteins. And it's not just about flexibility either. That torsional strain can actually impact how easily certain genes are accessed for things like replication or transcription.
Oh, yeah.
Like imagine trying to read a tightly rolled up scroll,
Uh-huh.
It's a lot easier if you can unwind it a bit.
So are you saying there are parts of our DNA that are basically unreadable because of this strain?
Well, it's not that they're completely unreadable,
Okay.
but the level of torsional strain can definitely make certain regions more or less accessible to the cellular machinery that needs to interact with them.
So it's like DNA has its own built-in security system almost,
Yeah,
making sure only the right genes are expressed at the right time.
that's a really interesting way to think about it. It highlights how DNA is much more than just a static blueprint.
Right.
It's a dynamic molecule that responds to its environment. For example, did you know that even the salt concentration in a cell can affect DNA stability?
No, I had no idea. I always thought salt was just something we sprinkled on our food. How can something like that have an impact on our DNA?
Well, remember those hydrogen bonds we talked about?
Uh-huh.
They're actually very sensitive to their surroundings.
Okay.
Things like salt ions can interfere with those bonds, making them either stronger or weaker.
So too much salt could actually destabilize our DNA.
Exactly.
Wow. That makes me think about those halophiles. The organisms that can thrive in super salty environments like the Dead Sea.
Right.
Their DNA must be pretty different from ours.
Yeah, you're right. They've evolved unique adaptations to cope with those extreme conditions. Their DNA often has a higher proportion of GC base pairs, which, remember, have those 3 hydrogen bonds,
Right.
making them tougher to break apart. It's a fascinating example of how life finds a way to adapt to even the most challenging environments.
Okay, so we've talked about how hydrogen bonds and this torsional strain play a role in DNA's stability. But there's got to be more to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, our DNA is constantly bombarded by all sorts of things, UV radiation, chemicals, you name it.
Yeah.
How does it withstand all that?
You're hitting on a crucial point. Our cells have evolved some remarkable repair mechanisms to deal with the inevitable damage that DNA sustains.
Okay.
There are specialized enzymes that can detect and fix a variety of issues, from broken strands to mismatched base pairs.
It's like having a tiny team of mechanics constantly working to keep our DNA in tip-top shape.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Hmm.
But what happens if those repair mechanisms fail? I mean, we hear all the time about things that can damage our DNA.
Yeah.
Radiation, pollution, even certain foods.
That's when things can start to go wrong. Accumulated DNA damage can lead to mutations, which are basically changes in the DNA sequence. And these mutations can have a wide range of effects, from being harmless to causing diseases like cancer.
So protecting our DNA is essential not just for our own health, but potentially for the health of future generations, right now.
Absolutely. Our DNA is like a precious heirloom that we pass down to our children. And just like we take care of valuable objects, we need to be mindful of the choices we make that can impact the integrity of our DNA.
Yeah, it's humbling to think that something so tiny and invisible can have such a profound impact on our lives and the lives of those who come after us.
It really underscores the interconnectedness of life and the importance of understanding the fundamental processes that drive it.
This is all so fascinating. It makes you realize that DNA is so much more than just a bunch of letters strung together.
Right.
It's a dynamic, resilient, and incredibly complex molecule that's essential for all life as we know it.
And we're still just scratching the surface of what there is to learn about it. Each new discovery opens up more questions and avenues for exploration.
Speaking of discoveries, are there any recent findings that have you particularly excited? I'm always eager to hear about what's new and cutting edge in the world of DNA research.
Well, there's one area that's really captured my imagination lately. It's called epigenetics.
Okay.
And it's basically the study of how factors like our environment and lifestyle choices can actually change the way our genes work without altering the DNA sequence itself.
Wait, so you're telling me that things we do, like what we eat or how much we exercise, can actually modify how our genes function?
Exactly.
That's wild. I always thought our genes were set in stone from the moment we were born.
Yeah. For a long time, that's what scientists believed too.
Yeah.
But now we know that there's this whole other layer of information on top of the DNA sequence,
Oh.
like a set of switches that control which genes are turned on or off and to what extent.
So it's like our DNA is the hardware, but epigenetics is the software that tells it what to do.
That's a great way to put it. And what's even more mind-blowing is that some of these epigenetic changes can actually be passed down to future generations.
Whoa, you mean like if my grandparents experienced a famine, those epigenetic changes could potentially be passed down to me?
Yeah.
That's both fascinating and a little bit scary.
It's definitely a powerful concept, and it has huge implications for our understanding of inheritance disease and even evolution.
Wow.
Imagine the possibilities for preventing diseases or even reversing certain conditions by understanding and manipulating these epigenetic switches.
It sounds like epigenetics is revolutionizing how we think about DNA and our own health.
Yeah.
Is there anything we can do in our daily lives to influence these epigenetic changes in a positive way?
Absolutely. Things like maintaining a healthy diet, getting regular exercise, managing stress, and avoiding exposure to toxins can all have a beneficial impact on our epigenome.
Wow.
It's empowering to know that we have some control over how our genes are expressed.
This has been an incredible journey. We've gone from those tiny hydrogen bonds to this vast world of epigenetics.
Yeah, it really has.
It's amazing how much we've learned about DNA in just a short amount of time.
It's been my pleasure sharing this fascinating world with you. It's a reminder that science is a constantly evolving journey of discovery, and there's always more to learn.
Thank you for listening to Podcast Learn and Fun. If you like our videos, please subscribe, click the like button, comment, and share. See you next time.